welcome back to Whiteboard Learning. My name is Anuradha Tripathi. Once again, we are back with our series whereby we were discussing the previous year questions of geography in UPSC prelims exam. So in today's session, we will be discussing about 2023 questions paper. For 2024, we have already covered. If you haven't gone through that session, you can watch from our YouTube channel Whiteboard Learning. So without further delay, let's start our discussion. First question is about the river. So very first statement says the Jhelum river passes through Wular Lake. So Jhelum river passes through Wular Lake. This is right statement. Jhelum river originates from the foothills of Pir Panjal range. Then the second statement says Krishna river directly feed the Koleru lake. However, Koleru lake is located in between Krishna and Godavari. So this is not something which is directly fed by. However, two other streams directly feed the water, namely Budameru and Tamileru stream. So this statement is wrong. Third statement is about meandering of Gandak river from the Kanwar lake. This Kanwar lake is located in Bihar in Begusarai district, and moreover this jheel is one of the Asia's largest freshwater oxbox lake, which is formed by the meandering of river, that is Budhi Gandak river. So as per the official answer key, UPSC has given the answer option number A, which is only one statement is right, which is first statement. This statement has been considered wrong. So this is the first question. Here we can see this is Koleru lake in Andhra Pradesh state. In southern there is a Krishna river, in north there is a Godavari river, and this lake is located in between these two rivers, and we can see that Krishna river is not directly feeding the Koleru lake. Coming to here, this is about the Wular lake. So Wular lake is directly gone through, this Wular lake is directly having the access to this Jhelum river. Now the next question, this question is about the port. First says, this is about Kamaraja port, which is located in Gujarat state. This is the first major port in India registered as a company. So yes, this is right. This is the first corporatized port in India. Second is about Mundra port. This is the largest privately owned port in India. This is also right. It is located in north of Chennai in Tamil Nadu state. Then the third statement is about the Visakhapatnam. It says the largest container port in India. This is wrong. In India, the largest container port is Jawaharlal Nehru port at Neva Sheva. So this is wrong. So here the answer is option number B. Only two pairs are correct. This is something which is given in NCERT also. So this question is partially from NCERT. Recently, Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi ji has laid the foundation of India's deepest port. So we can see here, the port is important topic in geography. So if you know about that, where the foundation stone for the India's deepest port has been laid by the PM, Prime Minister of India, do write in the comment section. Now the third question is, this is about the vegetation. Here you have to identify that how many of above are deciduous trees. Here the deciduous trees means the tree which grown in an area which receive the rainfall less than 200 centimeters. So it will be grown in an area which is having a distinctive wet and dry season. This deciduous trees can again further bifurcated into two parts. One is dry deciduous and moist deciduous. So this question is comprehensively about the deciduous tree, not explicitly about dry or moist. So here the three option is given. One is jackfruit, second is mahua, and the third is teak. So this mahua and teak is deciduous trees which will shed their leaves during dry season. Coming to a jackfruit, it is not a deciduous trees. It comes as a tropical evergreen tree which is native to Asia. So here the answer is option number B. Now here the next question. This question is about the comparison of India's land, and that to arable land or irrigated area in India as compared to China, and productivity capacity of Indian agriculture land. So here we can understand that UPSC now not asking the questions which is country specific, but now we have to do the cross country comparison also. So here first statement says that India has more arable land than China. Some of the sources you will find this statement is right, but as per the UPSC official answer key of 2023 paper, this statement is considered as wrong. Now the next is the proportion of irrigation area is more in India as compared to China. This is right. Recently in the month of June, it was in news that India's irrigation percentage has been increased to 55%. To 55% from 47%, and in China it is roughly somewhere around 41 to 42. So this statement is right. Third statement says that average productivity per hectare in Indian agriculture is higher than that of China. So this is wrong. Indian productivity of land is lesser than the China. So here the answer is option number A, only one statement, and that too this one. Next question is, which one of the following is the best example of repeated fall in the sea level which gives the rise to the present day extensive marshland? And here the four options which is given, option number A is Bhattacharnika mangroves, Maracum salt pans, Nuapada swamps, and then the fourth is Run of Kutch. So here the answer is option number D, Run of Kutch. This Run of Kutch is basically a marshland where the water level rise and fall, and because of which there is a evaporation of water and it gives rise to the salt pan. So here the answer is option number D, Run of Kutch. Now the next question is, this is about the resource distribution. This question talks about the resource, namely minerals, ilmenite and rutile. So these are available in the certain coastal district of India, which are rich sources of which of the following? So basically these minerals is form the basis of heavy metal, and these minerals are found in the coastal tracts in India. It means this is something which is available in sand beaches, sand of the beach in India. So here the answer is titanium. Titanium is basically a metal which is known for its high corrosion resistance, its high strength. This titanium is obtained from these two minerals, which is done with the help of mining from the coastal area in India through the beaches of the sand, and it get titanium oxide. So titanium oxide again further refined to obtain the metal, namely titanium. So owing its to strength and high corrosion resistance, this metal is heavily used in industry like aerospace and medical device industry. So this question is about the mineral resources in the coastal tract of India. Moreover, these resources, these minerals are available in all the coastal tract right away from the Gujarat to Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra and Odisha regions. There are 5 belts in India in the coastal area where these two minerals are abundantly available. Now, we'll see the next question. This is about the hills in India. First says that Amarkantak hills are at the confluence of Vindhyan and Sahyadri range. Sahyadri range is basically the name of Western Ghat. In Maharashtra region, it is termed as Sahyadri range, and Amarkantak hills is something which is at the confluence of Vindhyan and Satpura, not Sahyadri. Okay, so this is wrong. Coming to second is Biligirirangam hills constitute the easternmost part of Satpura. If I'll draw the map here, Satpura is somewhere here. So easternmost section will be here. But when it comes to this particular hills, it is located in the southern western region of Karnataka, and that too on the border of Tamil Nadu and the Karnataka region. So this statement is also wrong. Then the third statement says the Seshachalam hills constitute the southernmost part of the Western Ghat. This is also wrong, because the southernmost point of the Western Ghat region, Western Ghat, is not Seshachalam hills, but it is Annamala hills, which is also known as Elephant Hills. So this is wrong. And moreover, this Seshachalam hills is located in the Eastern Ghat, which is, this hills is also known as Tirumala hills, located in the southern Andhra Pradesh region. So here none of the statement is right. So answer is option number D. So basically from these questions we can understand the location of hills is very much important to give the attention while you are reading about the peninsular plateau or the peninsular India, or maybe the Himalayan region. Now the next question is about the soil in the tropical area. So here the two statement is given. The first statement says the soil in the tropical rainforest is rich in nutrient. Second statement says the high temperature and moisture of the tropical rainforest cause the dead organic matter in the soil to decompose quickly. So here in the tropical region, basically the insolation is very high, because of which temperature is very high, and it has a very high rainfall as well. So because of high temperature, the microorganism activity increase, which will create the composition, which will basically do the decomposition of dead organic matter, the speed will be increased. So this statement is wrong. So sorry, this statement is right. But when it comes to the first statement, the soil in the tropical rainforest rich in nutrient, this is wrong. Because of the heavy rain, the nutrient will be leaching away from the soil, and moreover because of the high rate of decomposition, so the nutrient will be decomposed. So basically the soil in the tropical region will not rich in the nutrient, it will lack the nutrient. So first statement is wrong and the second statement is right. So here the answer is option number D. First statement is incorrect and the second statement is correct. Here now the next question. First statement says the temperature contrast between the continent and the ocean is greater during the winter. And second statement says the specific heat of water is more than that of surface. So first we will look after the second statement. So the statement is right. Reason being is the specific heat capacity of the water is more. What is the meaning of this statement? It means the amount of the energy which is required to raise the temperature of the water is more as compared to land mass, because of the different molecular structure of the water, H2O. So here two hydrogen element is having the bond, so because of which it can store more heat. So that's why the more heat is required to raise the temperature of the water body as compared to land. So the statement is right. Coming to first statement, the temperature contrast between continent and the ocean is greater during the summer than the winter. The statement is wrong, because temperature difference between the water body and the land mass will be more during the winters, because during winter land will release more heat very easily, and speed of which very less in water body. So the temperature difference will be more during winters, not summers. So here the answer is option number D. Statement 1 is incorrect, but the statement number 2 is correct. This question is about various waves which generated during the earthquake, and instrument is used to record the earthquake waves. So, and the name of the instrument is seismograph. First statement says in seismograph P are recorded earlier than S wave. Yes, because P wave, which is owing to its nature, it will travel very faster as compared to S wave. Why? Because the nature of P wave is basically a longitudinal wave. What does it mean? It means that the movement of the particle is in direction of propagation of wave. So if the wave is traveling in horizontal direction, then the movement of the particle will be also in the similar directions. That is why it is termed as longitudinal wave, and it will have a comparatively faster speed than that of other wave, which is S wave. So it will reach the surface of the earth very quickly as compared to S wave, and therefore it will be recorded first in seismograph. So this is what the first statement is right. Second statement says in P wave, the individual particle vibrate to and fro to the direction of wave propagation. Yes, this is right. Why? Because P wave is longitudinal wave. On the other hand, S wave is something where the particle will vibrate up and down at the right angle of direction of waves. So here, if the wave is moving in this direction, then the movement of the particle will be perpendicular to the wave of direction. So that is why there will be creation of crust and trough in the earth crust whenever there is a movement of S wave. And on the other hand, if the P wave is traveling, then there will be contraction and compression in the movement of in the direction of the movement of the wave. So here the both statement are right. So option number C is the right answer, both 1 and 2. Now the next question is about, with the reference to coal-based thermal power plant in India, we have to consider the following statement. Here, even if you don't know the exact answer, still you can get the right answer, because all these three statements are very extreme in nature, and generally extreme statement will be wrong. So the first statement says none of them in India. Basically, thermal power plant means the plant which is used for the electricity generation based on the coal. So first statement says no one of them use seawater. So the statement is right. There is a thermal power plant, namely Mundra power plant, which use the seawater. So this is wrong. Second is none of them is set up in the water stressed district. This is also wrong. In India, basically 40% of a coal based thermal power plant is located in the water stressed area, 40%. And this says that none of them. So this is also wrong. And then the third one is none of them is privately owned. So approximate 131 out of 269. In India, there is total number of power plant which is based on coal is 269. Out of this, 131 is privately owned. So this statement is also wrong. So none of the above. Option number D is the right answer. This question is about solar radiation which is received at Earth. So here we have to see the characteristics. 4 statement has been given and we have to identify which one of the following is correct. So we will go one by one. The first statement says the total amount of the insolation received at equator is roughly 10 times of that received at poles. So basically the amount of the insolation which is received at pole and equator is not that much striking difference. Moreover, the maximum insolation is received at tropics, not at equator, owing to the clear sky. Okay, so this is also this is wrong. Then we will see infrared constitute roughly 2/3 of the insolation. Basically, solar radiation is consisting of various types of rays depending upon the wavelength, right away from the ultraviolet, then infrared, then visible light spectrum. So basically it constitute more than it has, along with infrared there is a ultraviolet radiation, visible spectrum, radio waves also. So infrared is not something which is 2/3 of it. This is also wrong. Coming to third statement, infrared waves are largely observed by the water vapor that is concentrated in the lower atmosphere. In the previous session also we have discussed that Earth atmosphere is transparent to the incoming solar insolations, because it is short wave radiation, and infrared is comparatively long wave. That is why it is observed by the water vapor that is concentrated in the lower atmosphere. This is right. Then the fourth statement, infrared waves are a part of the visible spectrum of the electromagnetic waves of radiation. This is wrong. Infrared is different from the visible spectrum of the electromagnetic waves of solar radiation, as I already have mentioned. Solar radiation is ultraviolet rays, infrared wave, radio waves, and then visible spectrum. So infrared wave is not the part of the visible spectrum. Therefore, option number D is also wrong. Now, this is the last question of 2023. This question says, statement number 1, India, despite having uranium deposit, depend upon coal for its electricity production. Second statement says, uranium enriched to the extent of at least 60%, which is required for the production of electricity. In India, basically, electricity generation is done with the help of conventional sources of energy and non-conventional, which is renewable source of energy. In conventional energy also, coal is something which dominate the electricity production nearly 55 to 57%. So yes, India, despite having uranium deposit, depend upon coal for most of its electricity production. Then the second says uranium enriched to the extent of at least 60%. For the production of electricity, uranium 235 enrichment is required only from 3 to 5%, not 60%. Reactors which is used for research and development, that require this much of enrichment, and moreover for the weapon grade nuclear, 90% of enrichment is required. But when it comes to production of electricity, it is 3 to 5%. So the second statement is wrong. So here the answer will be statement first is correct and statement second is incorrect. Option number C is the right answer. So by solving these questions once, what we have analyzed that apart from certain static portions, UPSC is asking the non-conventional areas in terms of infrastructure or in terms of the electricity generation or the resources distribution in India. So that's how you need to plan your strategy for upcoming 2025 UPSC Civil Services exam for the geography section. This was all about today's session. Thank you so much.